everyone? Hope you're all doing well. In case you haven't heard, Movsar Evloev is meant to be taking on UFC newcomer Aaron Pico. And honestly, this is some fucking wild west matchmaking. If you had said to someone, guess who Movsar Evloev is going to fight next, you'd be thinking, I don't know, there's not really many names you can think of. Maybe Lerone Murphy, maybe Fiziev if he decides to come down. I don't know. Who could it be? Aaron Pico. How has that fucking happened? Now, many of you may not be aware of who Aaron Pico is, and that's okay. He used to be in Bellator, he got hyped up a lot, and I think he lost his debut. You know, he was a big prospect, very young when he made his Bellator debut, and in Bellator, he's kind of had an iffy run, took some losses here and there, but he had good skill, a good grappling background, but also he has good boxing, mixes it in quite well, and possesses some decent power. He is a good finisher, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak, I believe, as well. But I don't understand this matchmaking. It doesn't really make... I can't get words out because it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Whether you like Movsar or not, really, he should be in that main event this Saturday. I feel like he deserves it more than Diego Lopez. But regardless, I don't want to get into a whole discussion about that. So the guy who should be the #1 contender and isn't fighting for the belt, well, he's got both Volkanovski and Lopez saying, well, if I win the title, I want to fight Movsar. So he's pretty much the front runner for the next title shot. But Movsar, fair play to the bloke. He's like, I want to remain active. And that's why this fight came into fruition. It's just still a bit baffling. And I keep seeing people say, oh, well, the UFC are clearly disrespecting Movsar. Guys, it's very obvious that he just wants to remain active. This is on Movsar. I'm not going to use it to discredit him or take a dig at him. I think it's evident that UFC has disrespected him in a way. You know, undefeated, beat some big names like Diego Lopez, Arnold Allen, even though it was controversial, and Aljamain Sterling. And now he's taking on UFC newcomer Aaron Pico. Doesn't really make sense. I understand that's disrespectful, but with this news about him fighting Aaron Pico, I don't think this is disrespectful because he just wants to remain active. So how is it disrespectful? The UFC were like, okay, then we'll just give you this guy. It's just the guy who they've brought in doesn't really deserve it. Because like I said, Aaron Pico had a very iffy stint in Bellator, had all this hype. He's still only 28 as well, by the way, so he's still got plenty of time. And I do believe he'll be a fun addition to the UFC in that featherweight division. However, it's just not right. I mean, you had MVP who had so much hype. You know, I know he lost a couple of times in Bellator, but he had a load of hype. Fought better competition like Diego Lima, Paul Sentex daily and whatnot. He fought some better competition compared to the likes of Aaron Pico, who's never really had a sniff of great competition, really. But he fought Kevin Holland, someone who's known for kind of being a gatekeeper, journeyman in the UFC, and he had a lot more hype and was a lot bigger name and was simply a lot better and more experienced. And you had someone like Eddie Alvarez who came in, who was a former Bellator champion, by the way, who took on Cowboy Cerrone, which still a big name, but I don't believe Cerrone was in like contention for a title shot. You had Michael Chandler come in, former Bellator champion, was one of the Bellator men, you know, came in, gets Dan Hooker. And you get Aaron Pico, who's not relatively known, is on a 2 or 3 fight winning streak at the moment, which is fair play, 28 years of age, gotten a few losses, never had a sniff of great competition, and he's taking on the next #1 contender for that sniff at the title shot in the featherweight division. I mean, just look at it like this. Pitbulls came from Bellator, who had a big background, had multiple title defenses in Bellator, some big wins as well. Came over and he got Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez, who's coming off a loss to Brian Ortega. You have Aaron Pico, who did nowhere near the amount of things that Pitbull did, and he's taking on Movsar. How does that make any sense? Whilst we're at it, we get to throw some shade at the Apex because we fucking hate that shithole. But apparently, I've heard reports, I haven't seen too much, but I heard a lot of people chirping about it. Apparently, this will be headlining a main event and will be in the Apex. That's what I've been hearing. I've seen a few people say it, but I haven't seen anything confirmed about it. In fact, all of these are reports about the fight anyway, so nothing's really confirmed, but there's multiple sources for it. Mainly Red Corner MMA is what I saw it from. But if this is, he's making a big jump to UFC, finally gets to the UFC, and what are you going to do? Oh, you're going to main event against a #1 contender, and guess where it's going to be? In the shitty Apex where no one's going to be able to see you. You get to make your UFC debut, your fucking MMA dream, in the Apex, kid, for 10-10. But whatever, I suppose. I mean, I can't see Movsar losing this one, but imagine the scenes if he did, and how fucking gutted he will be if he somehow ends up losing this. Again, I don't think that he will, but if he ends up losing this, Aaron Pico really, I don't think he would, but he should be in title contention. Because Aljo couldn't beat him, Arnold Allen couldn't beat him, arguably the next champion couldn't beat him, Diego Lopez. But Aaron Pico comes in, beats him. What the fuck do you do then? You've kind of got to give him a title shot, but at the same time, he's not done anything before the Movsar fight to really warrant a title shot. I mean, he'd be very lucky to get a fight of the winner of Sean Woodson and Dan Ige, in my opinion, who are both unranked in that featherweight division. So I find this fucking crazy. I would have done something like, if you really wanted Movsar in there, why not Movsar versus someone like Yusuf Zalal? I don't know. I thought that would have been a decent one. Makes a lot of sense to me. But regardless, I haven't got a fucking... Maybe Lerone Murphy. I think he wants to come back in summertime as well. That would have been another decent one you could have done. Would have made a lot more sense. But regardless, that's what they're going with. Aaron Pico versus Movsar Evloev on Aaron Pico's UFC debut. But what do you guys think about this one? Do you think it's some crazy matchmaking? Who do you think will win? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. There's actually some more news to this. So I've just spent a good hour editing this video, making a thumbnail. Then I was in the process of uploading it, check my phone, and see that apparently it's not even happening anymore. But I'm still going to upload the video because I'll cry myself to sleep now. I've just waited a chunk of time for absolutely fuck all reason. So yeah, I'm going to upload it anyway. I don't know if the news source is legit. Yeah, if it's not legit, fair enough. If it is, fair enough. Yeah, very frustrated.